Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I don't know how much longer Joe Biden can sustain this. He hasn't had a good year yet. In fact, I don't think he's had a good month yet. It's been nothing but disappointment, disaster, and scandal. And I think we're getting to the point where the Democrat establishment is getting ready to dump this guy. It seems as though we are reaching an inflection point, a turning point, as the media starts to turn on Biden. We saw something very similar back in, I think it was April or August, I don't remember off the top of my head, something like that. During the time of Joe Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal, the media essentially turned on him, and it led to some historically low approval ratings. Well, now with Joe Biden's latest crime, all of a sudden, the media seems to want to have an honest conversation about Joe Biden, and they are ripping him. Yeah, you heard me right. CNN and other leftist networks are absolutely, savagely destroying Joe Biden live on air. I think we're getting to a point where Joe Biden has become too much of a liability, and the Democrats are looking to dump him. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. Let's take a look at what they're saying on CNN and other networks as well. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I wasn't kidding. They're turning on him. Take a look at this.
In a New York Times profile of Joe Biden's 1988 presidential campaign, the first time he ran for president, he lied to voters, according to the New York Times, quoting aides of Biden's, about having marched in the civil rights movement. This is Biden making this false claim in 1987.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I did not march with a 12-point program. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
And the New York Times reports, quote, more than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood, kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
It is, and the story was a reminder that in that 88 race, he was one of the younger candidates in the race. He was 44 years old. He was the new generation, but, if you haven't read the book of What It Takes about the 1988 campaign, rich chapters of Joe Biden and others, but it does point out a problem, a challenge for Joe Biden. Has he fixed that issue? When he gets very comfortable out on the stump speaking and other things, he has tended to embellish. He has tended to, make things sound slightly rosier than they are. Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea of civil rights, but was not actually marching in the streets. But that would not fly as much. But he was supporting civil rights. But I'm saying that in today's
that's not what the word marching means
on Twitter. Okay.
I know, you're just telling what they said.
Right,
but
in the age of Twitter today, Instagram, there would be pictures of him not marching. That's so right. You cannot get away with that in this moment. So that's his big challenge. Yeah. Can he modernize himself, and has he sort of brushed away all those old tendencies he had that ultimately ended to him dropping out before the Iowa caucuses by because he plagiarized a speech.
Now, it only took 3 years for them to actually start telling the truth. And really, if you start to think about it, it only took them 50 plus years to start telling the truth about Joe Biden. The man is a filthy liar and one of the worst in the business. The only reason this guy gets away with it is because the media's full of liars too. Liars defending liars, hiding the truth from the American people. Because clearly Joe Biden isn't some slick cat who's just been getting away with it forever. His lies are so excessive and so egregious that there's no way he could have gotten away with it for this long without help. And that CNN reporter is correct, pointing out that Joe Biden's lies are very weird. The whole thing is just a weird phenomenon. His team repeatedly warns him to stop, yet he continues to do it. It's actually kind of crazy. Joe Biden has been caught on every single one of these lies, but every single time he feels cozy with the crowd, depending on the demographics of the crowd, he'll pull out one of his famous fake stories. He does it over and over again. You think at one point he would stop, he would learn, but nope, he's still doing it, even to this day. This happened a couple days ago.
I grew up in a little steel town called Claymont, Delaware. A guy I grew up with, went to grade school, Holy Rosary with. He went on to the public high school. I went to the Catholic prep school. He didn't go to college, I did. But he was an independent trucker. His name is Tony. I saw him at Christmas time. I said, Tony, how you doing, pal? He grabbed my cheek, and the Secret Service nearly shot him. He said, Joey! Angelo Negri was from, you remember Ange? Ange came up to me one day when they just had announced that I had flown 1 million some X number of miles on Air Force aircraft. And Ange comes up, and I'm getting in the car, and he goes, "Joey, baby, what are you?" And I thought the Secret Service was going to shoot him. I said, no, he's good, he's good. True story.
This fake story about the train conductor, it's a true story, he says, when it's objectively not. It's been proven false on multiple occasions. Then here's Joe Biden just a couple days ago in what seems to be a church in a black community, telling his famous fib that he took on apartheid in South Africa.
Andy and I took on apartheid in South Africa and a whole lot else. They didn't want to see him coming.
He has been called out for this exact lie so many times, and he continues to repeat it. Here's a great graphic from Greg Kelly's report on Newsmax, The Lion Joe Biden List. Joe Biden lied about his full academic law school scholarship, also claimed that he was the only one to have a scholarship, claimed that he graduated top of his class. That was true. Won an international moot court competition, fake news, graduated with 3 degrees. Never happened. He claimed that his son Beau Biden lost his life in Iraq. Not true. His son died of cancer after being exposed to chemicals in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. He claimed that he was a civil rights warrior. BS. He's been to Iraq 40 times. Never happened. He lied about his story with Corn Pop. He lied that he was appointed to the Naval Academy. Lied that he was arrested with Nelson Mandela, taking on apartheid. Never happened. Lied that he was a truck driver. That he spoke to the inventor of insulin. Lied that his house burnt down when really there was a small fire in his kitchen. Claimed that he was raised in a Puerto Rican community, when census data shows that where he grew up, there were only ever a couple Puerto Ricans in the entire state. Claimed that he visited the Tree of Life Synagogue. Nope. Claims that he was a full professor at UPenn. It was an honorary position and he never taught a single class. Claimed that his great-grandfather was a coal miner. No, he wasn't. His uncle received a Purple Heart. No, he didn't. Lied about his stats at a congressional baseball game. Claimed he was a football star. Claimed he was shot at overseas. Claimed that he was the first in his family to graduate college. He claimed that at a young age he was arrested at a civil rights protest. Lied about his number of trips to China, number of meetings with Xi Jinping, and also claimed that a drunk driver killed his family. But from what we know about the story, the other individual involved in that crash, that absolutely terrible tragic crash, was never charged with drunken driving. This guy is a lying machine. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And if you think that Joe Biden has learned his lesson and he's done lying, nope. Here's Joe Biden's new lie that he invented while speaking to that same crowd.
And let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic, but I used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church. Not a joke, Andy knows this.
Claims that he used to go to Mass every morning in high school and then in college. Quote, before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Well, here's the fact check from the Washington Free Beacon. Biden talked about attending black church as a teen, but members don't recall it. On the campaign trail, Joe Biden has talked frequently about his early years in the civil rights movement as a teenager. He says he regularly attended a black church in Wilmington, Delaware, where he was involved in organizing anti-segregation protests in the early 1960s. Quote, I got raised in the black church. Biden said in a speech to Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition last year, we would go sit in Rev Herring's church, sit there before we'd go out and try to change things. When I was a kid in college and in high school, the church that Biden referenced, the Union Baptist Church, was a prominent African-American church in Wilmington run by Reverend Otis Herring, an acclaimed pastor who passed away in 1996. But Biden has made comments that seem to contradict the account. When reporters questioned the claim in 1987 that he marched in the civil rights movement, he acknowledged that he wasn't an activist and that his most significant experience with civil rights as a youth was when he worked at a majority black swimming pool as a college sophomore in 1962. Now, interviews with longtime church members are raising questions about his story. Before Biden befriended Herring as an adult, they say they do not recall him attending the church as a teenager. Phyllis Drummond, Herring's longtime assistant, who attended Union Baptist for 39 years, said that she was not involved with the church in the 1960s, but does not think that Joe Biden attended at the time. No, not our building. I think he was probably in Claymont, Delaware, or in Pennsylvania then, Drummond told the Washington Free Beacon. He's a filthy liar. He gets in front of a crowd and tells them whatever the hell he wants to tell them. He walks in a black church and says, I was raised in the black church. He walks in front of a Puerto Rican crowd and says, I was raised in the Puerto Rican community. He shows up in front of railroad workers and tells his fake Amtrak stories. He shows up in front of coal miners and says, my grandpa was a coal miner. The guy is a damn chameleon. It's absolutely unbelievable. And finally, CNN acknowledges it and reports on it. If CNN is reporting on the truth, then you know they're starting to turn on him. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.